Okay, welcome back, everyone. So it's my honor and pleasure to introduce our first speaker of the day. Michael Kwadwo Okyere Asante is a lecturer in the Department of General Studies at the University of Environment and Sustainable Development. A lecturer in the Department of General Studies at the University of Environment and Sustainable Development, where he teaches courses in critical thinking and in the history and philosophy of environmental science. Prior to joining the university, Michael was assistant lecturer in the Department of Philosophy and Classics at the University of Ghana, where he obtained both his MPhil and BA degrees in classical history and civilization. Michael is currently completing a PhD in ancient cultures at Stellenbosch University in South Africa. In 2018, Michael pioneered with other classicists at the University of Ghana and the University of Cape Coast the reconstitution of the Classical Association of Ghana and led the execution of its first international conference. Since then, he has been involved in initiatives promoting the diversification and decolonization of classics globally, and his first edited issue with David Van Schoor and Kofi Aka for the Bulletin of the Institute of Classical Studies, Decolonizing Classics in Africa, History, Strategies, and Prospects is forthcoming. Michael currently serves on the Graduate Student Committee of the Society for Classical Studies and on the board of Global Antiquities Journal based at the University of Pittsburgh. So Michael will now be giving a paper entitled Barriers to Access Studying Classics in Sub-Saharan Africa. So take it away, Michael.
Thank you very much, Hannah, for the introduction. And thank you, along with Joseph, for putting this conference together. On December 13, 2021, I organized with the support of Nandi Pandey and the SES a public panel on the ways forward for classics in Africa. The panel presentations ranged from themes covering identity, access, and relevance. In one of the presentations, Kofi Aka of the University of Ghana remarked, Europeans and North Americans can afford to teach classics as part of their heritage. Third world countries struggling with existential needs have to justify teaching such programs, end of quote. In order to understand the foundation of the barriers to accessing classics in Sub-Saharan Africa, it is important to understand the import of this statement. When classics became a part of the formal education system during British colonial rule in the then Gold Coast, now Ghana, it was available only in the elite secondary schools, mostly in the form of Latin, and sometimes both Greek and Latin. So only a privileged few who attended secondary schools like Achimota, Mfatipim, Adisadel, Accra Academy, Presbyterian Boys, Opokuwari, St. Augustine's, St. Francis Xavier, Tamale, Mauli, Pope John's, and St. Peter's actually had access to the classics. When the University of Ghana was established in 1948, classics became one of the founding disciplines. But by this time, there had been growing nationalism and increased discontent with colonial rule, not only in Ghana, but across the sub-region. The result was a turn towards a Pan-Africanism and Africanization. By the mid-60s, at the height of African independence from colonial rule, the establishment of new classics departments had either come to an end or declined. For instance, when Nnamdi Azikiwe, the first president of Nigeria, founded the University of Nsukka in 1955, he did not see the need to establish a classics department in the new university. Until date, only the University of Ibadan hosts a classics department in the whole of Nigeria. A new policy of Africanization had taken over, a vision in what Ngome Zulu describes as producing, quote, an African university that had to reflect an African character, not only in terms of the student population, but also in terms of its administrative and teaching staff, the curriculum, syllabus, and the method of teaching and research. End of quote. And strangely, at the time of the establishment of the University of Nigeria in Nsukka, where African music, African history, journalism, and linguistics were taught, these were not available as options at the University of Ibadan. Take the case of Ghana and some other countries south of the Sahara, where the establishment of new classics departments ceased with growing nationalism and full self-rule. In Ghana, the classics departments are at the University of Ghana, established in 1948, and the University of Cape Coast, established in 1961. At the moment, classics and philosophy at both universities have been merged. In Liberia, at the University of Liberia, formerly the Liberian College, established in 1862, currently there is no presence of classics at this university. In Sierra Leone, at the Fura Bay College, established in 1827, in Malawi, at the University of Malawi, established in 1964. This growing nationalism is a major factor why the establishment of new classics departments saw a decline. And this was also tied to the idea that expatriates who were normally in the majority of qualified classics teachers would not be able to Africanize the curriculum. Indeed, in 1961, leaders of African states convened in Addis Ababa to deliberate on the development of education in Africa. And the consensus was that the colonial systems of education did not serve African interests. Thus, the foundational barrier to access to classics resulted from the political agenda or enterprise to use classics as a colonial tool for exploitation. African leaders had to bring that colonial goal to an end. In places where the discipline continued to be taught, it was because of the belief that it could be retooled to arm the African with knowledge about his or her heritage. This led to what D.J.O. McQueen, a Canadian classicist who taught at the University of Ghana in the 60s, has called the transvaluation of the classics in Africa, which came in the form of comparative cultural studies, reception studies, joint honors programs, publication of classics textbooks by for easy access by African students. However, this transvaluation has been met with growing barriers to accessing classics by students, and I shed light on just a few of these within the Ghanaian context. The first challenge several students who pursue classics at undergraduate level face begins before they register for their courses. What is classics? This question and the answer to it are both crucial. In Ghana, Greek and Latin ceased to be taught at the secondary level with the abolition of the ordinary and advanced levels in the late 1980s. What this means is that by the time a student goes through secondary education, he or she has no idea what classics, Greek, or Latin is. The advantage other subjects such as history, geography, economics, accounting, religious studies have is that they are already being taught in secondary school. The unfamiliarity with classics then has a direct impact on how many students choose to read the subject at university level. It is not that classics is not present in the classroom. Many secondary school students read Olarotimi's The Gods Are Not to Blame, for example, but are either unaware that it is an adaptation of Sophocles' Oedipus Rex, or aware but unclear as to the origin of Sophocles' play. Thus, like me, most students who took classics at university in their first year did so because it was offered to them, not because they chose it. If a student or parent then made an attempt to check the meaning of classics in the dictionary and found the definition, the study of the cultures and civilizations of the ancient Greeks and Romans, the next questions were, why classics in an African university? And what can one do with a classics degree? The latter results from a misconception that liberal-based disciplines have no employable value for its students. The former, however, results from the reputation of classics as a Eurocentric discipline. For the most part, classics in Sub-Saharan Africa is defined by the civilizations and cultures of the Greeks and Romans. To access materials of these cultures, the study of Greek and Latin languages are crucial. But in a university where students admitted into the program find little interest in these, quote, European cultures, and come with several misconceptions about the employable prospects of pursuing a degree in classics, the introduction of Greek and Latin languages poses a big challenge for student retention. This is peculiar to the Ghanaian case. It may not be the case in Nigeria and South Africa, where students have language offerings straight from their first year. But in Ghana, especially at the University of Cape Coast, there are no language offerings. At the University of Ghana, students get the opportunity to study Greek and Latin from the third year. But these language offerings are electives, not core. Thus, a student pursuing classics can graduate without having to study any of these languages. Even in the 1970s, when classes had a relatively bigger presence compared to today in terms of degree offerings, the numbers taking the languages were very few. I will show you two tables illustrating this particular point. So in table one, that is in the Department of Classics, University of Ghana, in the 73-74 academic year, we have one student taking Greek, 6 students in the first year taking Latin. The number reduces the following year, and with the third year combined honors, we have 3. But we see huge numbers in the ancient history program, which did not have languages as compulsory offerings within the ancient history program. Similar thing in table 2, enrollment of students in the 75-76 academic year, where you have 1 enrollment for Greek in the first year and then 16 for Latin. Obviously, because Latin is more easier to study here and more applicable to English language than Greek. That is when you take a Ghanaian context. So a lot of people prefer Latin to Greek. And for those who want to study law, Latin will be a favorite. And then we have 119 within the ancient history class.
Michael, if you wanted to show slides, we don't see any slides right now.
No, I'm not showing slides. I was
okay, just going through the information.
I was showing the tables. Did you see them?
No.
Sorry. Can you see the tables now?
Great. Yes. Could you repeat just about table 1 and table 2?
Yeah, so table 1 is enrollment of students in the Department of Classes at the University of Ghana in the 73-74 academic year. And I was trying to illustrate that even during this period where classics was very vibrant, because there were 3 different degree programs within the department, the BA in Greek, a BA in Latin, and then a BA in ancient history. And then there was the general program. So actually 4 degree programs within the department. And for Greek, first year was just 1 student pursuing Greek. By the 3rd year, you find no presence of this particular student. So we don't know what's happened. Latin, 6 students in the first year. By 2nd year, the numbers had dropped. Probably some had decided to do a combined program or move into the ancient history class or move totally into a different program at all. But we have large numbers in the ancient history program where Greek and Latin are not compulsory. The same thing for 75-76 academic year, where you have just 1 student enrolled in the Greek first year, and then 16 in Latin, and then 119 in ancient history. Yeah, so in the 70s, where classes was very vibrant, even then you find problems with enrollment in the Greek and Latin. So at the panel I hosted last year, Sandra Okyere and Kenneth Otter, who were two presenters on the panel, both PhD students in the US and UK respectively, described the challenge of having to study the languages afresh by joining undergraduate modules. Yet for those who take the elective language modules in Ghana and think of pursuing advanced studies in classics, there is a further hurdle. That is, they will compete with students from other countries who have spent years studying Greek and Latin languages for the limited funded PhD spaces. And because admissions committees of foreign classes departments place so much emphasis on applicants' prior training in Greek and Latin, either any motivation left to pursue classics at advanced level wears off, or one spends years finding a welcoming postgraduate program in classics. It is not my place to determine what classes postgraduate admissions committees should do, but if they were to consider these challenges students from my region go through just to pursue classics, the discipline's outlook may improve further. Consider, for example, that recently one of our best students, who by all standards possesses the intellectual rigor and capacity for graduate study, applied to do a PhD in a classes department in the US, but did not gain admission. While admissions committees will not admit it, the deficiency in Greek and Latin languages prevents many such students from pursuing classics at advanced levels, even when their academic records, recommendations, essays, and extracurricular activities show that they have the potential to excel, and when they only differ from other admitted applicants by virtue of not having the opportunity to study the ancient languages. I return to Kofi Ake's remark about the challenge posed to studying classics in Sub-Saharan Africa due to the existential needs of the region. This existential problem reflects in the decisions taken by university administrators with regards to many liberal-based disciplines like classics. Some of these problems exist elsewhere and come in the form of budget cuts, departmental measures, etc. But the problem is more pronounced here and goes to affect access to resources in classics. Access to classical materials and resources is a challenge in the field of classics, especially in the West African region. And many of these are driven by economic decisions. For instance, when the classes department at Legon wanted to subscribe to L'Année Philologique, the request was declined for economic reasons. Books accessible to students are sometimes outdated. There is limited access to online sources. Staffing is critical in some universities and funding is unavailable. Where there is the opportunity to access these materials abroad, there are further barriers. Besides the costs of interlibrary loans across continents, many of the funded fellowships advertised by institutes in, for example, the UK and the US, mostly favor non-African or senior scholars. Most of the classes scholars in Ghana, for example, are either recent PhD holders or currently on PhD programs. That's fellowships that target senior scholars who are presently in the minority in terms of faculty strength, do not go in favor of early career faculty. For other advertised fellowships, access is barred by race or nationality or region. Consider, for example, the fellowships advertised by organizations such as the American School of Classical Studies in Athens and the British School of Classical Studies in Athens. It is difficult for an African who is an early career faculty in an African university to pursue research on a funded fellowship at the libraries of these institutes. And because of what I referred to with regards to the existential needs, the numerous fellowships hosted by institutes in Africa, or even those hosted by foreign commissions for African scholars, are developmental focused. This means that classicists who want to access, African classicists who want to access these funds must rework their material to meet one key eligibility for accessing those funds. And that is the research must be relevant to Africa, where relevance here refers to meeting an existential African need. I will cite one example. A few years ago, I had gained admission to study for my PhD at the Faculty of Classics at the University of Cambridge, where I was going to write a dissertation on Plato. At an interview for Common Scholarship at the University of Ghana, the panel, which comprised of professors in agriculture, health, environment, business administration, there was nobody from the arts, preferred that I conduct a project on using Latin to improve English literacy in Ghana, to working on equality and justice in Plato's Republic. I missed out on my nomination for the scholarship. The posture here with regards to funding projects is that they must have a direct application to existential needs and tangible developmental results. To address these barriers, we would need a lot of cross-cultural collaborations, both within and across the continent. There are others, but these are some of the key barriers that hinder access to classics in our region. But efforts are already being pursued to address some of these barriers through collaborations with other departments in foreign universities. Thank you.